So Sahana Parameswarappa. Did I say that close?
Close enough, yeah.
Okay, and Arnfinn Austefjord, he's the judge. So Sahana from Automation Anywhere. This is their second year in a row winning an award from us. Congratulations. And I'm going to turn off my
Thank
devices
you.
and let you guys take control.
Sure.
All right, great. Well, thank you. I'm just going to actually want to share some behind the scenes first via presentation, then we're going to go into the site. And as Al mentioned, this is their second year winning for Automation Anywhere. And I thought first we'd just do some introductions. So Sahana, you want to give a quick introduction?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Sahana. So I'm working as a senior manager for self-service in Automation Anywhere for about 2.5 years now. And we started this journey of getting the support site updated with the latest features in the last 2 years. And one of the main challenges was to find out what to do and how to do and where to start. So I think the ASP feedback has been phenomenal in terms of understanding where we lack and where we are doing good. And it has been a key piece of information that we have always leaned into to develop our site and develop the roadmap for the site for the next 2 years. In fact, the feedback that I got last year, I'm yet to implement all of it. So you can imagine the amount of information that you get from the judges. And it has been great to be able to present and get to see these amazing sites. It's always inspiring and motivating to see that, there is so much more to do. Just when you think, oh, I think I've done a lot, you realize you're just starting. So that has been a great experience. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Sahana. And I'm Arnfinn Austefjord, and I head up the Digital Transformation Academy. We're an authorized KCS training vendor, and as you hear KCS quite a bit through all these discussions, but we really focus on helping companies with their digital transformation. So the agent assist, community, self-service, auto support, proactive support, and problem elimination, and help them both measure the success and optimize each channel. But self-service is a critical channel. I've been an ASP judge for over a decade. Actually started my engagement with ASP as a submitter when I was at Oracle. And we had 2 sites that we wanted to get feedback on, a cloud and a traditional support site. And to be honest, our goal was just to get feedback. There's tremendous judges with a wealth of experience. And so our goal was to get some feedback to help us improve, just as Sahana was mentioning. And we were fortunate that we also won the award, but really the big reward for us was getting all that great feedback. As I think was mentioned earlier, the judges, we not only get a login of the site, but we get a detailed write-up of their strategy and the behind the scenes activities. And we find that the more open they are, the better feedback they get. And so it's been really nice to see in fact, all of the sites that we've reviewed probably in the past 5 years highlight KCS as their knowledge practice. But now they're also highlighting their investment in AI. And this is first year we're starting to see some very impactful use of AI. So first want to start with some behind the scenes uses of AI that you're not going to see on their site. And then we'll go to their site. So we just have a few that we'd like to share first that I was extremely impressed with. The first one is when you look at an incident case, et cetera, you often have a detailed chat log with the customer and the agent. And then we have where we ask from a KCS standpoint to put it in structured case notes so we can create a knowledge article as a byproduct of that. What Sahan is doing with at Automation Anywhere is they're using AI to actually create the KCS article. And so they're using their large language model, the LLM, to populate the KCS article. And what was really cool is they were leveraging as the input the content standard. And they also did, so the AI was ensuring that the articles that they create, these draft articles, adhere to the content standard. They also do a duplicate article check and then show the articles that are possible duplicates for the agent to review. And then equally critical is a PII check, the personal information identifiers check, to make sure that you're not sharing any customer passwords or anything like that. But extremely impressed, because we get so many companies that we see they do a good job on their chat logs engaging with the customer. The structured knowledge in the case is one of the big opportunities, and certainly we're seeing more companies use AI to provide nice structure in their case notes, and Automation Anywhere is doing that also. But this is the first that I've seen that they're actually generating articles from the case notes, and it doesn't have to be the structured case notes. It can just be this unstructured chat log of the interaction. So Sahana, do you want to add anything to this? And again, this was it's behind the scenes. You're not going to see it when you review the
Right.
site, but knowledge is so critical, and this was just a great AI enhancement.
Yeah, I think we have seen great improvements with our capture rate after we have rolled out the AI generated cases article. And the main aspect that I felt very comforting was the standardized writing styles. When I came into the organization, I saw that everybody had a different writing style, different way of formatting things. And it didn't seem like all the KB articles belong to a single organization. And now that we are able to do this, we are seeing consistency in the terminologies, the languages, the acronyms, and it's simpler to navigate the information, because since it is AI generated, it is also more structured and well written, such that the translation also is more accurate. And we are using AI to do the translation. And we are seeing that the translation quality has drastically improved for the AI generated articles compared to the ones written by humans, because of the less ambiguous statements that are being added into the article. So I think that has been a great enabler for all the engineers as well. It has saved time in terms of creating the article, because it's just a click of a button and the article is created for you. You can review it, you can edit it, and then go ahead and uh, have it attached to the case, have it uh, sent for approval to coaches. And even the coaches have the content standard checklist, where the Gen AI also checks the article uniqueness. So it will give you a percentage saying article uniqueness is, say, 40% or 50%. And in that case, we are planning to also show the matching articles, so that way the engineer is able to discard the draft and just go to the original article and go ahead and update it. So we are trying to consolidate information as well.
Great, thanks, Sahana. Yeah, very, very impressed. That's why I wanted to actually just create this was actually not an Automation Anywhere slide, but just wanted to create it to help folks see what the great things they're doing with this. And just as on the prior, where SAP mentioned, that they were using their own tools. In this case, Automation Anywhere is using the Search Unify Nobler product to do this. I know often people want to know, well, what tools are you using for this? So they're using Salesforce for their site, but they use Search Unify Nobler, as well as the Search Unify search that we'll show later. And then, as Sahana mentioned, one of the other cool things that she's doing behind the scenes is using AI to generate portions of that content standard checklist. So we have those familiar, we have unique, complete, content clear, title relates to the article, hyperlinks valid, metadata correct. This is kind of the standard that most are using for the content standard checklist. And as Sahana mentioned, they're starting with the unique, but Sahana, I think when we spoke, you mentioned you're also trying to use AI to help in some of the other parts of the checklist.
Yeah, we are trying to get the hyperlinks validated, also check the references for a KB in multiple articles or in the documentation side. We are trying to get the metadata sorted from the case notes so that if there is a pattern of uh, metadata with a specific set of cases that have been assigned, have been added to the KB, then we want to populate the metadata automatically and correct it in case it is incorrect. So we are trying to do these things in the backend to improve the metadata and the filtering aspects of it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And one of the key things that we see when the coaches are working with the coachees to help them create better knowledge articles, we recommend that it's actually not the coach who does the judging of the article, but rather another coach or a centralized group. And it's great to see that the use of AI to do this, because we see even when different coaches are reviewing the same article, they have different
Right.
scores, and to
Right.
have that more uniform score would be really, really nice. But Sana, you were going to jump in?
No, I just wanted to add that we have also automated the PAR audit, wherein we check the cases if there was an opportunity to capture or create or update a KB. And the PAR automation, we are seeing accuracy of about 90%. And with that, we are able to audit all the cases and capture the instances where the engineer has missed out on creating the KB. And we are now trying to go back and create those KB. So we are plugging those content gaps as and when we come across it. And in fact, we are having a bot now that whenever there is a capture loss, the bot itself will go ahead and create the KB instead of waiting on the engineer. And then we are planning to give it to coaches to get it reviewed and see if it is relevant, and if not relevant, then discard it. But it has to be used with some caution, because sometimes overdoing things could be an overkill. So we want to be cautious with that. And yeah, that's something that we are planning to do in the future.
That's great. And again, we're going to see more and more AI being used, and certainly customer facing,
Right.
but wanted to show the behind the scenes for the content creation, as well as the there was a question earlier from Yulia about, how do you manage this, the life cycle of the content and such, and leveraging AI to do a lot of that, as well as this process adherence to ensure that the engineers are linking when appropriate, they're improving when appropriate, they're creating when appropriate. So that's really nice. And it's I'm sure next year you guys are going to show even more of the use of AI in the content standard checklists and PAR.
Yeah.
So let's now jump into the site itself. So with the site itself, what's really nice is it's very clean, and we'll go into each one of these. You have your download center where they can download the latest. Oh, and actually, before we go on, would you mind just giving a quick overview of what Automation Anywhere does? And that might help when we're looking at the site.
Sure. So Automation Anywhere develops software bots which help you to automate multiple things like processing of data or document automation. And the main aspect of support is through the website. We do not have a phone support, but the customers need to come to the site to open a case. The gold customers or the premium customers have a dedicated phone line, but for the customers with a lower care or support bandwidth, for them it's the website that's the first point of contact. So we are trying to have the cases created through the support site, and we also offer Gen AI in the search itself. So when you search for something in the website, we also summarize the information using the chat GPT, so that users don't have to go through all the links. So it will sort of give you an introduction of what the information is in the gist of it in the beginning, and depending on that, then they can browse through the search results.
Thanks, Anna. And I'll actually show the example of that. I'm very, very impressed. But what's also nice is, well, one, just a quick overview of the site. You'll see the quick links. Pathfinder is their education source, and then the community. Migration of those bots is a critical focus, so they really highlight their migration articles as well as some of the other tools to support migration. They have their most popular articles, most recent, and then certainly the community. They have a very vibrant community, and they highlight that on their homepage. And then for product updates, it's really nice that they give you some good insight into what's coming, and not only the time frame and such, but the top features that you should be looking for. And so very, very nice as far as that engagement with the customer, giving them the heads up on what's coming and why they should take advantage of that. So that was great to see. And then feedback and suggestions. So one of the things that I was very impressed with also with Automation Anywhere is they really look for the voice of the customer. And in here, this is more a site-wide feedback. We'll get into the article feedback a little later, but any feedback from the customer on the site in general, or if the customer sees a knowledge gap, that they can provide that information. And then if we look at going back over the home, just as SAP mentioned with their personalization, Automation Anywhere does a very nice job with the tiles. So you can have your the licenses and your services. You can get into the cases. So Albert from Red Hat was showing the SAP cases and how you can, in similar thing, you can create a case, you can open a chat, you do have the ability, as Sahana mentioned, to call. But I think you guys are slowly, certainly de-emphasizing the call.
Yeah, so as I said, there is a dedicated line for gold customers, but for the lower contracts, it's the call as option will not be visible. Since this customer has the gold contract, you see the call as button. So that's a dedicated line wherein you'd get the engineer in like a minute or so.
Great. And then you can look at your open cases, your closed cases, because this was a test.
Right, it's a test
Login.
user, correct.
Yeah, and then so we don't really have a lot of cases to show, but very nice to be able to go and engage on the open cases and see the closed cases, see if you had a similar issue in the past and how was that solved and such.
So Arnfinn, are you and Sahana open to a question or two?
Sure. Yeah. In fact, I think it'd be nice to have it as we go. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the first one, hang on. Got to put my glasses on so I can read it better. What type of machine learning model are you using to generate the articles? Is it traditional machine learning or large language model based?
It's LLM based. So we have, what it does is it sends all the case notes to the LLM through the API and then gets the response back as the article. And there's another question about what percentage of AI generated articles require manual approval. So that depends on the person who's generating the article. So some users who are matured in the system, who are technical and who are familiar with the KCS practices have the publisher license, so they can go ahead and publish the article right away. And if the person is the contributor and they are still relatively new to the system, then it goes through the approval. They won't see the publish button. They would have to go ahead and submit for approval. And when the coach checks everything out and if it's okay, they will go ahead and publish it.
Okay, that's all the questions for now.
Okay, great. Yeah, and please, and thanks, Al, because yeah, as we're going along, if there's questions, we'll certainly have Q&A at the end, but welcome them as we're going through the tour. And this is all customizable, so very similar to what when SAP was talking about. It's very easy for the customer to customize. And in fact, Sahan, do you want to mention some of the other customization features? I know it's certainly for the licensing licenses they have, but as well as the tiles they can move around, and what are the critical ones they want to see and in what order. But any additional you'd like to?
Yeah, so on the tiles, right now we do not have the option to move them around, but we are planning
Oh,
to have that in the future.
okay.
But yeah, when they go to trainings and certifications, we are working on the SSO propagation so that they can see the trainings that are assigned or purchased by them or subscribed by them. So right now the SSO propagation doesn't happen, but we are currently working on that so that it is more in tune with the user profile that is logging in. Same with events and resources, it will show the events and resources that are coming up in the company in the future, and they can register for it and filter based on their interests. So we are planning to have that available with some customization where the users can have some preferences set up in the beginning so that those events or those demos come up on the top of the results when they go to the site.
Great, thank you. And Sahana was mentioning the search, so wanted to just give you some insights there. And again, this is the first they're using, so they're doing the Chat GPT. This is a Search Unify
Right, yeah.
GPT.
Right, yeah.
And what's nice is, so you put in your search, you'll get the search results, but you'll also get the nice GPT response as that summary. And you can see that they have quite a bit of filtering the facets here. And what's really nice is for all of those facets, you can see how many, how much content is associated with each of those. And when you do the facets, when you click on them, it not only updates the article, but it updates the GPT response. And they have a federated search here, the enterprise search, so you can look at all content. If you just want to look at the knowledge articles, just want to look at documentation, videos, other resources, the communications, the questions, is that from the community?
Yeah, that's right. Any community questions or discussions? Yeah.
Perfect. And then I know that one of the features that now the Search Unified GPT has is not only having the summary of this, but also a link to the resources leveraged to create that.
Yeah, that's coming up in the next product release. So once it is, we will go ahead and enable that on the site. So right now, if you see, there is no option to give feedback for the user, whether the ChatGPT response was accurate or not. So we want to add that feedback so that we can improve the search engine and the ChatGPT response in the backend. We are planning to have the associated resource from which this was extracted so that the user can go and take a look at that particular link in more detail. So that's something that the product has to release, and then we'll be implementing it here as well.
Great, thank you. And that is really critical. I think most are on the call are very familiar with KCS, and in that evolve loop, to really understand the issues that are not only handled by their engineers in the agent assist, but the issues being handled in self-service, and using the article as that problem signature, showing the resources used. That's going to help their knowledge domain experts, their KDEs, to continue to move these issues up that value curve, continue to shift them left to automated support, proactive support, or ideally elimination. So that's a nice enhancement that we're looking forward to you guys having soon. And then one of the things, if we look at an article, and again, very similar format, standard KCS format, what they have is quite a few, when I was looking through the articles, quite a few causes for issues. So you'll see that they'll give you the summary, but then they'll have cause 1, cause 2, etc. and then solutions to all of those causes. And so a tremendous amount of information. I know other companies will use like resolution paths to ask questions from the customer and then get them to the understanding the cause and the solution. Do you guys have that on your planned roadmap at all?
Yeah, we do. We want to add decision trees. We explored it earlier, but the Salesforce had limited flexibility when it came to the template of the article. So we're still trying to find a way around it. But yeah, I think it would be great to have a decision tree kind of structure, especially when we have multiple causes and solutions, because this can get very confusing for a user if they have to go through these many causes. So this is one of the things that's on the radar, but we haven't actually been able to get a working solution which fits very well into the framework. So we're trying to get to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then you do have the ability to download the article, and particularly for these that might be a little longer. Customers might want to download, print them, etc. And then certainly follow. So now any updates to that article, they can get notifications on that. And then you'll see they have the widgets on the side with the related articles, as well as trending articles related to this topic. And then down below, we talked about that overall feedback, but they also give on each article the ability to rate the article, like or dislike. And one of the nice things that they've done here is typically when we see well, not typically, but many times when we see an implementation, they'll only field when it's a dislike. And here you'll see that even if they like it, the article, then their Automation Anywhere is asking for a comment. And this is, and again, this is all configurable. And it's great to see that Automation Anywhere has turned this on to allow comments when they like, not just when they dislike. And we see that's a great, great thing to kind of celebrate within. You have the engineers so focused on their cases that they don't get as much visibility to what's happening on self-service. And sharing these kudos is really nice. And we recommend they actually, when these come in, it gets almost broadcast, where certainly the author gets it, but the team, the manager, etc., so they can just see the benefits of the articles that are being created. But Sahan, were you going to jump in there?
Yeah, I also want to add, we often struggle to find out the value add each KB brings in, because there is not much information on how the KB is being utilized, right? We rely on views or the number of cases it has solved. Additionally, what we are trying to do is since we have so many automations, and when we do audit the cases, we see that there was a relevant article that was available for this particular case. The user may or may not have linked it, but we are trying to use that also as a metric, as a currency, to see which KBs are relevant today, how many cases are getting resolved by what percentage of the KBs, and that has helped us find out the actual relevancy of the KB, because views can be not that great at telling us whether a KB is useful or not. But finding it through Gen AI and seeing that when there is a chat, when there is a case, and that particular KB has the resolution, kind of gives us the confidence on that particular KB, and that helps us bring it to the top of the search results. So we are using that as well as the main currency to find out the relevance of the KB, and also pick the ones which have a low impact and go ahead and look at it and see if it needs to be archived or deleted.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
And then actually a question that will probably pop up, because it was a related one on SAP. So you have the chat GPT for the customer, but I know you guys didn't turn it on for the engineer.
Yes.
And so that they're the knowledge worker, so they're just seeing the content.
The search results, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah,
then they
the
can
reason
ideally...
we deliberately did that because we wanted to have the reuse and review practice being used, because quite often if they just get the step that they are looking for in the summary, they might not go to the link and try to look at the KB and update it. So we didn't want that. We wanted them to go through the search results, because end of the day, it's through their viewing, uh, it's through their view that we find out solutions to the problems. And as much as we would want to automate, there was some element of knowledge that they always have. I think that needs to get into the system. So that's the reason we haven't enabled it for engineers. This is only for
Yeah.
customers.
I think that's awesome, and definitely would recommend that, because again, your engineers are your knowledge workers, and your AI is only as good as your underlying knowledge.
Okay.
And so for them to refine based on reuse, so as those cases are coming in, that's critical. And often it's great to think about a known issue coming into a case as kind of a defect in your overall system. Because ideally you want to connect people to knowledge for known issues and people to people for new. So when those known issues are coming in, having your engineers help improve that underlying knowledge to see, okay, why didn't our customers find it in self-service? And so to improve the articles as appropriate, so then that the overall search results, as well as any AI you're using to provide, in this case, the Search Unify GPT, are just going to be more and more improved.
I'd also like to add that when we have the case created by the user through the website, we also provide the customer journey to the engineer. So when the engineer looks at the case, he not only gets the summary and the description and the logs that are on the case, but also what are the links that the customer searched and viewed while creating the case. So that way we avoid a situation where the engineer suggests the same article or the same steps, and they kind of review and try and understand a little bit better on the resolution before passing it on to the customer. So we have the customer journey as part of the case notes as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you want to actually touch on you have tremendous success with using AI when they are submitting a case. Do you want to touch on some of the stats that you have for that, for your case deflection?
Yeah, so the case deflection, especially the implicit deflection, where the customer comes into the site and leaves the site without creating the case, we were measuring the implicit deflection. And there is a case form where the customer starts creating the case, but when they look at the search results, they abandon the case form. That we measure as explicit deflection. So when we start measuring it initially, it was in about 35% a couple of years ago. And we started making these development where we have these search results laid out, and the chat GPT has actually increased the deflection drastically. So in the initial days, we saw like a 20% jump from the implicit deflection. So where we were in 30s to 40s and then slowly in 50s, it jumped to 70s. Now it has normalized a bit. It is in 60s, but we are definitely seeing that as a great improvement. I think right now we don't have an option for the feedback, but I'm really looking forward to have that feedback option, because I feel the customers are able to get the information easily and quickly with the chat GPT, and it is proving to be beneficial. And so we are planning to first we roll it out here on the regular search. Now the next step would be to roll out in the case form. So even when they are creating the case and they start typing in the issue description, we would be adding the chat GPT response there as well, so that we can see a similar result and see if we can deflect more cases in the explicit as well.
That's great. Yeah, and what we find is that because in the case submission, rather than just brief search terms, they're actually better describing their issue. Then it's an opportunity to really deflect that. And I know with your implicit, you're currently using the abandonment rate. So if
Right.
someone searches and they see at least one knowledge article or the chat GPT response, and they do not submit a case, then you're counting that as a implicit. And I know you have on your roadmap to further improve the accuracy, where you're going to actually be deploying a survey, a random survey. So you're going to ask the customers, did they actually resolve their issue via
Correct. Yeah.
self-service?
Yeah, I think there are quite a lot of false positives, and we want to narrow it down. And the best way to do that is check with the customer if they actually found the information that they were looking for. So the plan is to not just assume. Right now, I'm not even counting the chat GPT. I'm only counting if they have actually clicked on the search result, because otherwise it was going really high, and we know that
Right.
it's not possible to be that high. So the plan is to have that survey and get a real temp on whether it has been useful and they are getting the information that they're looking for.
That's awesome. Yeah, in fact, just as a data point, and we see it's certainly great to see the abandonment rate and continue to keep that as a metric, but including the survey to get that actual success rate for self-service is so highly recommended. As just a data point, when I was at Oracle, we had the deflection rate was about 96%. Those who would go to our site and they would not
Yeah.
submit a case. But when we implemented the survey, we're only actually 48% successful. So roughly, in this case, I get exactly half. And when we asked them what their next step was, they would often say, I'm going to ask a peer, I'm going to go to another sports site, I'm going to post in the community, I'm going to escalate to my internal help desk, I'm going to try the solution I found, but I don't know if I'm successful. So highly, highly recommend that you have that survey. So that's great to see that that's on your roadmap. And then one of the other things that so many impressive things on their site, but they really have a nice, vibrant community. When I was looking through the community posts, one of the things that we do as judges, we see how quickly are those questions being answered and who's answering them. Is it the company or is it the external community? And with Automation Anywhere's community, the posts, those questions are being asked answered very quickly, but they're also being answered by the external community the vast majority of the time. So very vibrant community that you've created. And so just some of the things I'd like to highlight on their community. They do have the latest news. They use this as a communication method vehicle for the customers. This is tied nicely to their training also, so they can get how to help improve the customer's knowledge and their skill set. They have challenges. They have various news, and we saw the updates that we showed on the site in general. They do have their nice recognition of their external community members, and this is definitely a best practice that would highly recommend all do to have a vibrant community, is to recognize those people. And here was just an example of how they're spotlighting one of their MVPs. And what was really nice to see is they not only gave a lot of information about who that person was, any fun facts, their expertise, etc. They also had a nice video where they're interviewing that MVP. And so we definitely see that the more you recognize those external contributors, the more they're going to want to contribute. Also find that the more vibrant your community, the actual more loyal your customers, because they have their connections and they don't want to leave that to try to start anew at another vendor. So kudos to your community. Anything else you'd like to highlight on your community?
No, I think it's mostly covered. Yeah.
Okay. One of the questions I did have, as we look up that, kind of moving up that value curve, you go from, if you look at a time and level of effort, certainly the agent assist is the most effort, but then the community is second up that value curve, and then you have self-service. Do you either currently or in the future have plans to harvest your popular community threads and put them into structured knowledge articles that can then be leveraged?
We tried that, but what happened was the context is very limited on the community threads. So quite often, sometimes when we try to convert into a knowledge base article, we just have a simple error message. We are not sure on the environment part and how it's set up in the backend. And unless we actually talk to the customer and confirm, it's difficult to assume that, that is the complete set of information. So we kind of have refrained from it. But
Okay.
yeah, I see a point. But yeah, for so far we haven't been able to leverage that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, anything else before we jump into Q&A? These were the things that I'd like to highlight. You did mention the machine translation, and that was
Right.
very impressive also, that you're able, and SAP mentioned similar, that they're able to leverage. Oftentimes in the past, you had to do a first pass with machine translation, but then have a reviewer. And it sounds like a good portion of yours, you don't have to go through an external review, just leverage the machine translation. Is that accurate, or anything else you want to expand on with your translation?
So conditions apply, right? So what happened was we just rolled out the Gen AI based translation about couple of months ago. Until then, what happened was there was a manual review and a manual translation in place. So we replaced it with the generative AI. But we also saw that the accuracy was good with French. Right now, we only have two, Japanese and French. We plan to expand it for more languages. So where you see English here on the top, you can, shift from English to Japanese or French. With French, we saw the accuracy was higher, but with Japanese, it wasn't. So we have a bunch of reviewers for the Japanese content just to make sure that there are no ambiguous statements. But for French, it's mostly going live almost automatically. But the amount of time it takes to translate content has reduced considerably. And it's just a quick check for the reviewers, especially for Japanese, to make sure that the information is accurate or the translation is accurate.
All right, thank you. And one of the other nice things I forgot to mention earlier, you all do a very nice job of adding screen captures into your article to help with the usability, the consumption of those articles. And definitely see that as the best practice. That I think one of the most requested enhancements to articles is to add screen captures. And you all, when looking through your articles, you do a very nice job of adding those as appropriate. But great. Well, Al, do we want to open it up to Q&A?
Yeah, Arnfinn, I think that's a good idea. I got knocked off a little bit ago, and when I log back in, I no longer have access to Q&A for some reason. But can you read them from there? Or
Yeah,
or I can have Paul do it.
I can do it. So one of the questions is, what is your search engine platform? Is your AI solution a custom solution? So AI solution is partly custom, partly defined product. So Nobler is a product of Search Unify, and the Search Unify is our search engine platform, which provides us with federated search. And for the KB automation that we saw earlier, where we are creating knowledge base articles, that is from a solution called Nobler. And the Power automation that I talked about is a custom solution that we have built within the company with our RPA bot to audit the cases and create the information report basically of all the capture losses and reuse losses and so on. Ratio of self-service resolved to live cases. So let's say we have about, so the live cases that get converted into a case is about 40%, I would say. 30 to 40% of the cases get converted from the visit to a case. And self-service is, as I said, we need to add the survey, and once we do that, we would actually get a right measure for the self-service success, because right now I feel there are quite a few false positives in that.
And I think, Sahana, currently you're not measuring the number of issues solved, so you're not taking the, if I understood from your write-up, but you have plans in the future where you look at the number of attempts for self-service times the success rate would then be your issues solved in that channel, and then you can compare the issues solved via self-service to your actual number of cases to see that ratio that Yulia is asking for.
Okay, yeah, we haven't done that to that level yet, so we'll be doing that in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And then there was that other question about, is the community treated like an additional channel?
Yeah, it's an additional channel because not all users have a support contract, and some users have the free software, which is not supported by the teams. So they go to the community to get help. And no, we don't have any engineers assigned as such. Anytime they feel like it, they go to the community and answer, but it's only, on a volunteer basis. There is no active monitoring, because we have seen that a lot of customers are interacting with each other, and most of the questions get answered that way. So we don't have a dedicated time or engineers who are working on the community.
Yeah, and I again would like to emphasize how vibrant your community was. There's a lot of questions being asked there, and your external community is doing a great job very quickly answering those questions from their peers. So that's great. Oftentimes companies will have to this question, will have to, they'll give typically 24 hours for the external community to answer. And if they haven't answered, then they actually create a workflow for the engineers to answer that. But it's, again, your community is so vibrant. I could see where you didn't have to put that structure in place.
Yeah. I think those are the questions.
Yeah.
Running out of questions?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I think there's one more. What is migration category? Was this automatically chosen? So what happened was, initially the software itself was on-prem, and then we moved to a cloud-based software. So initially there was a lot of queries regarding the migration from moving from on-prem premises to cloud, and there were a lot of basic questions that were coming in. So that's the reason we thought we could just put the most commonly used queries onto the homepage, so that we could reduce that case volume, and we did. Actually, a lot of cases was just about a few Q&A questions about what is compatible and what is not. So I think that's why we added that as a widget. We have the articles and the documentation on the migration.
Great. And then regarding that screen capture, Yulia is asking how adding screen captures work with accessibility, the screen readers. Do you add the description to the images?
Yeah, that is part of the basic training. That's like the KCS 101. Every time we have a training, that's one thing I reiterate, is to make sure that you add the information from the image as the text in the KB. So when the coaches review the KB, or we come across the KB through reuse, we make sure that we try and add the screenshots, but also have the description added to the images. We should have an AI for that as well. I think we can use, we do have OCR. It's one of our products, so we can probably leverage that and, have that add a note or a comment kind for the image. So that way, even if the user forgets to add the description, it will be added through AI. That's one scope of improvement.
Great. Thanks, Anna. And again, would like to just, it was such a pleasure reviewing your site and to see
Thank you.
the great features as well as the use of AI. I think you're definitely on the cutting edge in using AI in your support portal. So very, very impressive.
Thank you.
And well, thank you and Sahana and also Arnfinn for the show and tell today. And Sahana, you'll be featured tomorrow at the same time in our discussion of AI use in support. I think it's pretty appropriate since you guys obviously are doing a lot with AI, and I'll look forward to seeing that. But in the meantime, you need to get some rest because we're keeping you up late at night. And
No worries.
you may or may not need rest, but you can go to happy hour later if you want.
Sounds good.
Okay, so if you two would take down your